This is Mia again, or Crease Singer if you like. I'm back to shed a little more light on a video that I made a few days ago in which I used the name Zach Bagans. The reason that I used that name is simply because he's very popular and his show is seen by many people. And in terms of paranormal investigation, many people know who he is. Like I said, I was not making any attempt to debunk what he's saying. I'm simply saying that if you want to be taken seriously by the scientific community, you have to prove things scientifically. And what I meant by expectation bias is simply someone who doesn't know anything about the investigation and who doesn't have any context in which to view tapes, listen to EVPs, look at evidence, and particularly a skeptic, should be the one who is making certain decisions in an investigation. That has not been the case, and I have seen it all too often when it comes to ghost adventures and many others, but I did use that show as an example, so I'm still using that show as an example. They do not independently, out of context, have anyone outside of their crew independently listening to EVPs. The human mind is very interesting. And before I go further, I simply want to let everyone know, first of all, I do have a web presence. I didn't just show up out of nowhere. If you want to Google Crease Singer or Mia Luth, I've been a nerd around for quite some time. I stay quiet often because I am listening is what I'm doing, and I'm taking some things in and I'm processing. So I don't automatically jump to conclusions. I know how to put things to scientific rigors. I do have college degrees. I do have certifications. I have been known to the U.S. government as a contractor as what is called a behaviorist. I have been to see psychologists, psychiatrists, doctors. All can assure you, and I'd be happy to actually share my medical records if it became necessary, that I am not delusional. I do have sleep issues, and that's par for the course, which is why some may notice I got bags, I got dark circles. I don't really try and hide these things, and I don't wear makeup because I don't have time for that, and I'm not trying to win a beauty contest. So none of that really matters to me. I have qualifications in investigation. For a long time, I was doing investigations on my own. I did run into a bit of a situation, so I did have to ask for help at one point. Do I believe? Yes, I believe. There are entities that do communicate with us. The Holy Lord Father God does communicate with us. It is possible for some of us to communicate without using words or our mouths. I'm sure someone just picked that up. Now, am I crazy? Maybe a little. But unless you push past the envelope, unless you consider certain things that may be different. It's very difficult to make progress. So I will also say that I am a truther. I can't say I agree with all truthers. I simply say I am one who seeks the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. And I'm not worried about whether I can handle the truth. And I'm not worried about whether I want to hear the truth. And I'm not worried about what that truth is. I simply want that truth. So when I speak, okay, I didn't just wake up one day and think, oh, I'm some sort of interesting prophet. Much has gone into me making this video right now. I'm aware I need to project my voice a little more. I do appreciate anyone who watches this. And if anything I do helps even just one, then I'm okay with it. Currently don't have my own funding, so I will mention this close to homelessness. That's been the case for a while. I have suffered spiritual attacks. I do know that they're spiritual attacks. There are ways of assessing these things and discerning these things. Some might be a little obscure to mainstream scientists, but there are factions of science that actually would cover these topics, and individuals who would probably agree with me on a scientific foundation that these things are not only possible but can be proven. So what I'm saying about investigating is there are many cases, and really you just have to pay attention. I know a movie was made of one. I know that there have been people on radio shows. I know that there have been people who've written books, and many who've been interviewed by parapsychologists, paranormal investigators, and so on and so forth, who are very much sure that certain things exist. And some of them have things in common. Some of them do not. And there is, of course, the unfortunate situation in which people fake it. So, I've grown accustomed to being able to pick those people out very quickly. It's sad to me that that is the case, but that is the case. There are some people, like I said, who do have abilities, but they aren't necessarily extra human or extra sensory. Some people are just very in tune to facial movements, body movements. Some people are excellent mentalists, so they're good at working you so that you think it's all your idea. They know the human condition very well. So when it comes to taking guesses at things, they're extraordinarily educated guesses. There is a veil. There is a way to prove that there is a veil. There are certain things that the Holy Lord Father God will only reveal to some. I am one who does, in fact, feel, sense, see the signs of the fact that we are what is called in end times, which is the reason why there has been an escalation in a lot of things, and the escalation in spirits leads to an escalation in human activity. It's just, I caution people who think that doing EVPs on your own is a good idea. There were investigators who, a husband and wife team, shortly before she died, did do some paranormal investigation shows, and she was brought in for expertise. And she has said clearly, it's not really something you want to do. This can be obsessive. It can ruin your life. Now, whether you are dealing with an entity or whether you're just the type of person who has that temperament and personality to just keep digging and digging, and you're looking and you're looking and you're listening and you're listening, and you kind of forget that you have responsibilities as a human being. Regardless, it isn't really something that one should just wake up out of bed and say, oh, that looks like fun. Or, oh, let's have a party and go down to the graveyard and do this and do that. There's good reason you should be scared. It can actually cause death. This is true. Okay? It can attack those you love. It can cause you to attack those you love. It is very difficult to get out once you've gotten in. So I caution a lot of people. Bring up Zach Bagans and Ghost Adventures, and of course there's many other TV shows, and now they're just more and more, and there's a plethora of them. It's like I said, though, I have seen as in possible vision, possible communication from the other side, that some of these paranormal investigators, I don't see good things happening. I don't. It's a little alarming. And I don't know most of these people personally, so it's not like I can just call them up on the phone and say, oh, hey, I saw this and I think this. Because I don't just automatically assume something or go by a set standard that's already laid out in terms of interpreting these things, well, more and more they tend to be correct. And I would like some of these visions to not be correct. So if I have that possibility and that opening to change that for some people, I'm taking that opportunity right now to do it. There are a lot of things going on all at the same time, and without the power to discern, it can seem like a huge, overwhelming black hole of a mess that is so frightening your life drains from you. Unfortunately, that has happened. My entire family is deceased. I put a very large wall between me and other people. I keep people at a distance on purpose. I am in a situation where I have more family who have passed away and loved ones who have passed away than I do loved ones still in the earthly plane, as some might say. Physical attacks have happened caused by spiritual activity. My voice has changed because of it. It can do damage to your eyes. That's another thing I know that has happened to Zach Bagans. And I don't have that situation when it comes to my eyes. I think mine's just regular, old eye problems. But I do have something that occurred with my voice and a nodule And I actually had to go to the shock trauma and have my face cut open to drain pus that had covered my face and caused me to stop breathing. And I had an oral surgeon who was a part of that, and the thought, medically speaking, was that I had an infected tooth. And when they removed the tooth and they looked at the gum, they didn't see a single bit of infection. They didn't see a single thing. Before I got to the shock trauma, the local hospital told me that I had acute, what do you call it, tonsillitis. And when 2 days later, when I ended up being taken to shock trauma, there was no sign that I had any tonsillitis. So there was no known medical cause for it. Now, I'm willing, myself personally, to take some of these hits. But mostly that's because most of my family is deceased. Quite a few of my loved ones, my children, my former fiance. So to me, it's, well, if somebody's got to do it, it should be me. I don't have a lot to lose. And, well, I've gotten used to attacks. And sometimes I even get information from wherever. I pray it's from a heavenly, angelic source of good and true light. I can even avoid them. I know that I am being maneuvered by something. And so I'm not the kind of person who would wake up and just say, oh, I saw a flashing light, or oh, I saw something out of the corner of my eye, or oh, that thing in the sky looked like a, oh, I am not that kind of person. Nope, I will put it through every kind of rigor, and I will even go through to some outlandish kind of scientific thinking to explain in a way that would make sense to mainstream science. And I can assure you, there's not a single thing that could explain certain activity anywhere that I've found. And I've read religious texts, and I've listened to all sorts of different people, and I mean, YouTube's filled, right? Years and years and years of studying things like Stonehenge and other Stonehenges, and the wooden Stonehenge, and the Stonehenge that's like this over here, and Easter Island, and on and on and on, and some sites and places that most people just never even heard of. And I've dug through some very obscure scientific journals and listened to some very interesting testimonies. It all pretty much ties in with Revelation, which is the last book of the New Testament. So I won't say much. I'm simply saying, maybe take the time to, at the very least, read Revelation. Not going to make a lick of sense to you, most of you, and it doesn't have to make sense. Don't struggle to try and make it make sense. Don't worry about it. Okay? That's all I'm asking. Eventually, though, things start to become more and more clear. So everything that's happening on Earth, signs in the sky and the waters and the earth geology, human behavior, animal behavior, politics, sports, I mean everything, all things, all tie and are relative to revelation. And there's proof of that. So we are in a time where we need to be very, 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 very careful about the choices we make, and be very, very discerning about the company we keep. So I did make a conscious decision to come out with the fact that I believe, and I've seen, and I do hear what seems to be voices. Now, I'm not schizophrenic. Like I said, I've seen doctors. I've been interviewed. Medical people will tell you that that is not the case. More than one, as a matter of fact. It could be hearing from beyond. There are clairvoyants. There are people who have spiritual gifts given by God. There are other realms. There is a mix now of that realm and human. So it's why I'm saying all humans should really be very, very careful at this point in time. So I'm not a quack. I'm a little bit kooky. I do understand parapsychology in a way that many may not. I have been on paranormal investigations. Like I said, most was just on my own. You know, I try and do things quiet and under the radar, because I don't want a big to-do made of it, and I don't want gawkers and onlookers, and then people, you know, trying to do the same thing in an unsafe way. So, I mean, that's why. But I decided that I would make myself known, because it is more important than ever for those who are truthers, for those who are paranormal investigators, for those who are parapsychologists, for those who believe in a bigger, higher cause, to unite and work together and help each other and share with each other, and just give what you can to each other and protect each other, without trying to prove who's right and who's wrong. So I've found that to be the case, and I felt it necessary to speak up about it. We need to be united, truthers. Okay, we probably only have this tiny little much of a gigantic, ginormous iceberg that, you know, we can't even picture the size. There's so much that we can't comprehend. But if we're doing things separately, and we don't have a standardized way of investigating, a standardized way of sharing, a standardized way of using terminology, or, you know, many are just spinning their wheels. So one last thing that I will say is that I have gone through enough and investigated enough and researched enough and meditated enough, and been in contact with others in a variety of different ways, including conversation without the use of human tools to say maybe the paranormal investigators should really start leveling up a little and thinking of it all as supernatural activity. Because when you rise up to that and you put your mind on that, things that may have been confusing, things that may have divided us, things that may have tricked us, things that may have been unknown before, can actually be known. And looking at it in terms of the word supernatural brings that forth in the mind. And when you study things and when you look at things and when you discuss things, it will make a little more sense. It's much bigger than just paranormal. It's much bigger than just Earth. It's much bigger than just humans. It's much bigger than just angels. It's much bigger than just demons. It's much bigger than whatever. Whatever you got, whatever word you got. And I'm very much beginning to see that. So, I'd like those who see things a little differently to work as one. I pray for that to happen. But I'm putting myself out there now. My name is Mia. I am ordained clergy. I can do redemption ministry. I have goodness in my heart. I took the time to make sure there was no anger, resentment, any of those kind of things that would hamper a person, and particularly spiritually. So, I might seem new to you, but I'm not. Feel free to contact me. Feel free to leave comments. Any topic of discussion, throw it at me. Maybe once I get the live stream going, we'll have you lead the conversation. So, thank you very much for listening. And that word I said was listening. My mouth doesn't work sometimes. Have a good night.